Hello everybody and welcome back. Hope you guys are having a fantastic week. Sorry I missed you all last week, but I had quite a bit of work that I ended up doing outside of the house, which I'll show you guys later, which is really fun stuff. So I didn't have enough time to really give you guys a full good episode, and I always prefer to give you guys something that's a little bit better versus something that's just kind of thrown together last minute. But here in St. Louis, spring is upon us, which does mean some pretty crazy weather. As those of you who are fellow Midwesterners, I'm sure know. Had a small tornado in St. Louis yesterday, actually. Knocked over a few trees up here, although the tornado did not happen near my house. We did still get some pretty strong winds, but the old girl survived it quite well. But we did lose a tree across the street that fell, but it was getting really close to falling anyways. Luckily, nobody's car was parked there at the time. Before we fully get into today's episode, though, I did want to briefly share something with you guys that I think is kind of impactful that I've been meaning to film for a few years now. And that would be these flowers that keep popping up every year in front of this vacant lot. And you might say, well, Caleb, that's not terribly interesting. And by itself, it wouldn't be, except for the implications of why those flowers are there. Those flowers used to not stand in front of an empty lot. They used to stand in a front garden of a house. In front of a house that I can only assume was very similar to mine. And what those flowers represent to me are really echoes of the past. You know, at some point, some mother, some father, some daughter, some grandma, some auntie decided that they wanted to put something beautiful in front of their house that they were proud of. And so they planted these flowers. It's that ghost from the past coming and telling you, hey, a family was once here, a home was once here. And that home was loved. And I guess that whole kind of idea fits kind of nicely into what happens here in St. Louis. The building is demolished, gone and forgotten. But these flowers keep coming back and reminding everybody of what was truly here. And I think that's why it makes it really important for what I'm doing here and change that entire idea from gone and forgotten to here and loved. And maybe with time, even cherished. I know maybe it's a weird thing to get kind of excited about, but it's definitely one of those little mementos that pop up here in my neighborhood from time to time that are just really good reminders of what I'm doing this for. And yeah, couldn't be happier to give this to the next generation. So that's just something I find interesting that happens every year around this spring. A little tale of rebirth, if you will. So, you know the drill. Let's get into some time lapses and onward and forward into making this place a loved home again. Last week, this is what I ended up doing, which was fixing the gate I was telling you guys about in the last video, which came out quite well. I used a few of you guys' suggestions as to, you know, wire brushes and things like that. Things I had already laying around, things I was already using. But the thing that actually came in most handy with the whole thing was this really stiff, so no bend in it, drywall or putty knife. So, you know, not sharp or anything like that. But turning this sideways and running it up and down the rungs with two hands, just dragging, Really took all the paint off really quickly. I mean, it's still tough. Like, it does take a minute to get all the paint off. You know, there are a few sections that were fairly stubborn, but the result is quite beautiful. We're back together. We're looking really good. And you might have noticed this tiny little gate here. This is one that I've had chilling in the garage for a while. And while it doesn't fit anything on my house, and while talking to a neighbor this week, I actually found out that it fits her house. So I just went ahead and cleaned it up. This one didn't have very much paint on it or anything, so it just took like an hour or so just to brush it up. I've got it primed. It still needs one coat of enamel, but that'll look perfect on the back of her house. And she has one window she has a bit of security issues with. So this will go there and stop anybody from trying to get into her house, which is exactly what these big things do on my house. Of course, they do it with style, which is always nice. Now, coming over here to the wall you guys just saw in the time lapse. Don't worry about any of this. We'll get to that here in a minute. But this wall here, I was able to get a bit more of my beadboard up. I have gone back to Burkhart's once or twice this week, or actually last week and a half, and both times they were out of 16-foot lengths of this beadboard, which is a problem for me because this is just under 8 feet that I need of these boards. And so they have 12s and they have 10-footers in stock, but that's a lot of waste. And when you're paying for this stuff by the foot, you really don't want to have a whole lot of waste because then you're paying for material you'll then later throw into a trash can. And so yeah, I'll have to make an order come Monday to order some more board that's specifically for me. But the start of the wall I've got looks quite good, I think. There were really no issues. It was kind of fun getting this light switch in here. Now I know somebody have asked about outlets. I only have one of these boxes, and these are old school boxes that actually pop further off the wall, so you can see I can get my finger between the switch and the actual box where they connect. So I will have to put a little piece of wood behind it and then the plate. But I don't have any of these old school boxes, and this technically will be grandfathered in. Why? So that's why it will work. Everything else will have to be ran in conduit, probably from the ceiling down, maybe even against the board here somewhere. And that's how I'll end up with outlets down around the exterior walls. This wall over here will actually be furred out, and the only reason I'm doing a little bit of furring out against this wall is just so I can have a bit more room for the shower that will end up going right here where this pipe's poking out. Just because the needle shower is a bit bigger and I need just to give it an extra few inches off of this wall to really make it fit well and have a full bath down here. So yeah, as a whole package, it's starting to look very, very nice. But for this next project, which you guys might have noticed is this door right here, we gotta go back into some few time lapses because I did a lot of work around this door to make this thing happy. So let's get into that. Welcome back. And not only do we have a door that I repaired weeks and months ago in, it now closes, operates quite well. I don't have the lock set on here quite yet, but don't worry, that's coming here towards the end. And if I go outside, you can just see fully outside, no more board, it's gone. And you can see just how much I had to do with this. All the stripping, all the wood filling, all this stuff. And of course, we're still not done yet. But I am oh so close to having this entire area be absolutely beautiful. And of course, this door here, you guys saw me repair this guy months ago. And it was by far the most destroyed door in the entire house. Worse than any of the windows I've touched, anything. You know, this panel was split in half. This entire piece here was completely falling off. Everything was jostled and jumbled around, so just getting it back straight and right again was really difficult. But we got there. And most of this area here was no exception to that rule. It was extremely beat up, lots of spider webs and stuff in here. But I do have to say one thing that I'm very happy the owner did. How they ended up connecting that piece of plywood to this with those long bolts and just boards that sat on here. No screw holes, no nothing. And it was a brilliant way of doing that without damaging anything. So hats off to the previous owner for installing that plywood in a way that was A, extremely secure, and B, didn't damage anything, which is so rare I find on a lot of these places. But yeah, so I've got lots of sanding to do here. I also had to remove quite a large electrical pipe that used to be running through that hole here. Down the middle here, so that's a big hole in there for the pipe, and then outside to an exterior light, which I had to remove. You can also see I've removed a lot of the concrete from these stone walls, and we are getting closer to having a restored place very, very soon. Now you can see a bunch of the stones missing there. That's because that area was actually all cement. There was no stone there, so I will have to replace that with some stone. I'm sure that's exactly what's going on in this lower block down here. But we'll get there. Same thing right here, we're just missing one stone there, and I've actually already got a stone that fits it, so that'll be perfect. But it's absolutely brilliant now, the fact that I have another new working door here on the side of the house that goes directly to the basement. Of course, I had the one in the back, but you know, as things are currently, it still gets quite muddy back there because of all the plumbing work. And to be able to come in this door, ooh, it's a lot less muddy. And so it's a lot more convenient for the dogs, it's a lot more convenient for Kim and I to come in and out of here. And of course, once this room is closer to done, this is where the area we're going to move into of the house. So this is going to be my bedroom probably for 2 or 3 years as I get more of the rooms done and eventually complete our full-time living space or permanent living space, which will be the 3rd floor. And of course, then that opens up this room to be available for all of you to come and visit and check out and hang out and sleep in and all that other good stuff. So, exciting times. But I have one last little quick project I want to do. Something I just got done about 10 minutes before I turned on camera for you guys, which is this stuff right here. It's a lock set for that door, so we can actually have a locking, working, functional door. Polished up the knobs, they look fantastic. These are black ceramic, which is really cool. In basically perfect condition, but they had lots of stuff on them. And then completely just redid this lock set, which looks absolutely fantastic. Inside, outside, sat in the restroom over for about 3 days. Same thing with the actual stop here. This doesn't have any of the primer on it, but it didn't have any rust on it, so it didn't really need it. So I'm just gonna hit that with enamel while it's on the door. And of course, all of this is important to get on the door because of this right here. So the lock and everything actually surface mounts to the door. So essentially that means this doesn't go inside like a normal deadbolt or a normal doorknob. It doesn't go into the trim this way. It actually sits on the outside, the exterior. But because I'm using this system, it actually has important implications for the trim. So obviously when I run the trim down here, there has to be a notch on the trim cut out to bypass around this guy here. Same thing, there'll be a deadbolt here. I bought one, it doesn't actually fit, it's too large on this really thin door. But I will have to figure out both of these mechanisms before I can put the trim around the door, because I have to cut notches for this old school style of hardware. And yes, I don't actually know why they chose to do this exterior mounted stuff on these basement doors. I can only assume it was cheaper and therefore made more sense for an area like this. Everything on the first floor all the way up to the third floor has the very, very regular cassette style insert into the door types that you guys have seen me use in the past. And then of course you would end up with a strike plate that sits on the inside of the trim. So on this surface, not this surface. Basically like a normal door lock does today. That also means your trim is a lot prettier if you do it that way too, so. But let's keep with what they did originally. I have a lot of these sets, and it's what the door had originally. So let's make that last little thing happen. And boom, there we go. Nice little lock set. Even has a lock here on the top that you can toggle on and off, which locks the door, which is really nice. We'll still have to work on the deadbolt, but that's for a later day. So hopefully I can find an antique one that is small enough to fit here on these very, very thin section of the door. So that's gonna do it for this episode, guys. I do hope you guys enjoyed. And again, sorry for the week delay. I did want to also mention to you guys that there is a really good possibility that I might be taking a job to restore some windows here soon. You guys might know who for if you guys watch Mansard Media's channel. Matt and Nikki have been doing a really amazing job over their house, but their contractor that they had doing their windows fell through. And I've been doing a lot of windows recently, and they've kind of given me an offer I kind of can't refuse. Especially if I want slate on my roof anytime in the near future. So if that does happen, and I think it will, we might be going down to every other week for this type of video, just because I can't do two things at once and provide you guys with content about this house. But what will happen instead though is you guys will get more of an update about what's going on with my work over at their house. And of course, other little fun videos I'll come up with along the way. I already have quite a few ideas, so as always, guys, thank you so very much for sticking with me, for really getting something out of this channel, and continuing to support and push me to do better and to do bigger, grander things. And I think together we make a pretty good team, and we're gonna get this girl back up into tip-top shape. So have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your guys' week, and I'll see you guys again real soon. Take care, and bye-bye.